Many adults who slipped through the cracks as kids have gone their entire lives without actually realizing they're autistic. But with the evolution of research and knowledge, we're learning the true spectrum of autism. Let's talk about social interaction challenges. Okay, so the first sign is pretty much talking about the difficulties, the challenges autistic people have with social interaction. Autism can affect autistic people in the way that we would just know intuitively, just understand, get the rules, get the norms. This is how social interaction works. Obviously, if we don't know the norms, know the rules, know how it works, it makes socializing feel basically impossible. It's like playing a board game without the rules, without the instructions.
The year is 2005, and a certain fighting game tournament is taking place, Evolution. But this is hardly a normal year for Evo. While the FGC at large has accepted consoles as the way of the future, a controversy embroils the game Super Street Fighter II Turbo, and the problematic PlayStation port recently released. But for some, this tumultuous time for the game served as a window to penetrate into the top levels of the tournament. One of these competitors, who went by DarkSydePhil, made 4th place. Phil, an East Coast player nicknamed the King of Hate, fell in losers semifinals to Tokido, but his performance made him the highest place American competitor that year, and in his words, the #1 ranked Super Turbo player in the USA, a title that he flaunted prolifically. However, most other competitors didn't quite see it the same way. Many didn't take the tournament's results very seriously, on account of the version used, and as a result, Phil's reputation was not at all as he would later claim it to be.
That's what I was looking for. You got some idiot named DSP, who's a total piece of shit, by the way. I like to get that on YouTube, but this guy thought he was hot shit because he beat me and Choi in a game that was like, it's like fucking Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter or some crap, dude. And he was so proud that he put under as a signature, he's the #1 US ranked Super Turbo player that year.
In addition, while Phil maintained that his nickname, the King of Hate, was a result of his controversial opinions, others tell a different story. Rather, his nickname was the product of his violent outburst he was prone to at events.
1 minute for DSP to report this match is disqualified. Where am I playing? You still haven't told me. Jesus Christ, man. Treat you like you're a...
So I always start with social impairment because I see this as the heart and soul of autism. If you don't have social impairment, you don't have autism. But first, let me share some case examples from my clinic to demonstrate what this can look like and the huge range in severity that we see in the children we treat. So on one end of the spectrum, you have kids who even at a pretty young age have kind of some awareness that their social skills aren't great. And they're lonely and they really want to make friends, but they're just not great at it. So recently I asked a 10-year-old kid, what does having autism mean to you? And he said, well, it means that sometimes I don't know that I'm being annoying, which makes other kids not want to play with me. Poor kid. And the thing about social impairment in autism is it starts young and it lasts throughout the lifetime.
While there's little information that could be called reliable surrounding this man's history in the fighting game community, what little glimpses we have paint a very peculiar picture. A picture of a man burdened by a bloated ego and a lack of any self-awareness. While he may not have had much lasting impact in the community, the stories surrounding him are bizarre and quite interesting.
You know, everyone says that I'm a big hater, but I only hate on people because they hate on me first. So everything that I say on the internet may be in good fun, but it's just in reaction to all the other bullshit that goes on behind the scenes.
Sometime between 2005 and 2006, Phil had been talking a lot of trash over the internet to Viscant, legendary West Coast Marvel and Street Fighter player who still plays today. He had been doing so for months, but Viscant finally had enough and challenged Phil to a money match at that year's EVO. Viscant was confident Phil wouldn't accept his challenge, knowing very well that he could beat Phil at any game they played. Phil did his best to squirrel his way out of the challenge and jokingly asked that they fight in real life instead, presumably believing that Viscant wouldn't accept. Phil actually challenged Viscant to a fistfight at EVO. However, what Phil didn't expect was that Viscant would actually accept. And unbeknownst to Phil, Viscant had extensive experience in combat, having probably been in more gym fights in the past 2 months than Phil had been in his entire life. Over the next few months, Phil continued to organize the fight, hoping that Viscant would end up backing down from the challenge. They even organized the signing of documents, releasing them from liability in the event of serious injury. And genuine debate was had regarding who would serve as a referee, and whether or not there would be a weight limit. Viscant would later write that it sounds like a total farce, except I can assure you that it was 100% serious, which makes us both look like total, complete fucking idiots. Leading up to EVO, Phil learned from West Coast players visiting an East Coast tournament that Viscant was dead set on seeing the fight through, and he was informed of Viscant's fighting experience. Phil was rather shook, learning that he may have to actually fight Viscant. He messaged Viscant asking to call the fight off, and proposed that they, quote, pretend like we're going to fight, and then when a whole crowd is around us, we both do DX crotch chops to the crowd. It'll be such a goof. Viscant initially refused, genuinely wanting to fight Phil, but he would later agree to just drop it. Afterwards, there was little animosity between the two. Many people disliked Phil in the FGC, and as a result, he was routinely confronted by people he shit-talked online.
When you have social awkwardness or issues with social boundaries and social situations, for example, like not knowing when it's your turn to talk, not knowing what's the right thing to say, not having a filter to stop you saying things that may upset somebody when you're unaware of upsetting somebody, these skills, these unwritten social boundaries are learned by neurotypical people over time, but with autism, it's somewhat missed because of other things that go on inside the autism brain. So the idea of having social awkwardness, but having real difficulties with social interaction and social communication on a whole is something that is so unique and so interesting about autism that it's a very, very big telltale sign that the person in question could be on the autism spectrum.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Ben. I just got excited.
Is this the kind of diabetes that has to do with being overweight, or does this have to do with? Yeah, well, I mean, it's I'm about 60 pounds overweight, and so obviously being overweight does factor into it, and I just want you guys to know that just in case something does happen, and that's pretty. Dude, this is too negative and too morbid. I'm sorry, but. Ben, hit me up after the show because I lost 40 pounds since December. I was really in a bad way last year, and
You block it, however.
hopefully I can help you out,
Right.
What is going on? Dude, someone turn off your radio. That's mad annoying.
Whoever's on the radio is playing Guilty Gear in the background, so I heard him mention Eddie.
Because it's like in the morning. You know what? Though the diet that the doctor recommends you is always unrealistic. You just gotta make it real for yourself and still work out and still eat healthy. There's a realistic way to do everything. That sounds like a drastic fucking starvation plan to me. I don't know if that's gonna work. This is what they like.
Try that Arnold Palmer
candy flavored soda.
Alright. Ben, seriously, if you really need help with this, I can help you out. Just, like I said, I lost 40 pounds in the past 6 months, and I really didn't even do that much, so...
Sugar.
Dude, I love fast food. I love double cheeseburgers. I love the grease. I don't eat it anymore. I had to get used to that.
Yo, Phil.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a fuck about
Shut up, Jaha.
Nobody wants to look like you, dude. I mean, you're a fucking snitch. Everybody hates you. Who would want to...
Nobody wants to look like a snitch.
Nobody
what the
fucking
fuck?
asking, dude. You're up yes, getting shot down left and right. Nobody wants to look like you. All right,
what?
Nobody asks about you stupid ass guy.
I'm trying to help Ben. You're not. Shove it up your fucking
whatever,
ass.
dude.
How about
I don't
that?
give a fuck. And we don't give a fuck about you, motherfucker. Ain't nobody trying to look like you.
So recently, I had another conversation, this time with the mother of a young adult man with autism. And I said, how have the social challenges changed over time? And she said, Dr. Tom, when he was first diagnosed, we worked so hard. We did all the social skills groups. We did everything. And I thought things would get better. But they really haven't. In fact, as the social environment got more and more complex as he got older and older, think about dating and all the things that come with middle school and beyond, things have gotten much more tricky, such that now he really prefers to hang out with us, his parents. And this was causing a lot of family friction because this was a 19-year-old young man who wanted to surf, to play basketball, play video games. His parents weren't really into those things.
So you think you or someone you know might have autism? Let's find out. To be diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, you have to have all three of the following that have to do with social communication skills. One would be difficulty with social emotional reciprocity. That would be things like trouble having a back and forth conversation, approaching others in an awkward or inappropriate way. They don't seem to care about initiating social interactions with others. They don't pick up on these subtle nonverbal cues like facial expressions or the body language, hand gestures, things like that, unless it's really obvious. And they don't seem to use those cues to indicate things to other people. They don't use facial expressions or hand gestures or tone of voice that goes with what they're saying. Difficulty starting friendships, keeping friendships going, and even understanding friendships.
Hello, I'm John, and I'm joined by Howard.
Woohoo!
We've actually created a new channel for this to show, we're not trying to gain viewers or subs or whatever, man. And I'm not looking to subject my subscribers to this horse shit. Including a video posted by one Philium 2 days ago, who decided to record himself scolding us like a high school gym teacher, saying that you're immature and you need to learn how to be men. We've said before publicly, we wish him the best, don't wish him any ill. I hope he makes a ton of cash and has a great life, man.
Yeah.
Why would I not feel that way? What is it? How does that affect me?
Yeah, and going back to what we were saying before, I don't make money off of this, and I don't know about you, John, but it's not something that bothers me. It's just something I enjoy doing.
The other thing is there's a lot of history. There's a lot of good times, man. There's a lot of really good times, and you kind of you'll piss on a lot of that stuff by doing this. And I feel like things should be kept in-house amongst friends. A circle of trust amongst friends, Howard. Do you believe in such things with people?
No, I wholeheartedly believe in that. And that's why I'm a little ticked off about this because, it's one of those things where, you can't even trust him in terms of, sending a message. Yeah.
It's disgusting stuff. It's sad. You're not creating content. It's freaking garbage content for the bottom of the barrel, man, and that's what it is.
It's really like a testament as to what he held our friendships for, because it seems that the money was more important than us being his friend. Yeah, and he falls victim to it on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And he has an issue, a really big issue with damage control. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know how to ignore things. So this is why we're in the situation that we're in now, is because of that.
Yeah.
There was no need for him to address this. He could have just let it go, and that was it.
And here is a thread of them I put together on Twitter if you haven't seen it. And it really just shows how unhinged a certain person is and how alien they are in everything they do. I'm sincerely sorry about your daughter, and I wish her a speedy and complete recovery. And Philip then says, thank you. Rich says, thank you, Phil. I genuinely appreciate that. And then the next day he says, would you be interested in coming on my stream with Jay and I sometime? Which is a fine, question he's allowed to ask. Philip again writes a paragraph. Not very interesting, just writes a paragraph, all right? Just so you know, there was a paragraph there. Then Philip writes another paragraph. It's all paragraphs from Philip. Seems StreamYard is easy to use. That's what I just used for the Side Scrollers interview. So use Side Scrollers interview for that thing. Not that. And whatever. And it's the same as any stream. It's basically trying to get him on the show, okay? And Philip is clear responding very, very nicely, okay? Very calmly and nicely. So again, Rich answers like a normal human being. I don't want to give credit to Rich here, but I'm just saying he's writing like a normal human being in single or double or two sentences. Philip, again, always responds in paragraphs. He just cannot not write a paragraph. He can't. So we're still responding here. Okay, I have to look into Zoom and figure it out from my end. It's a program. You click a link. It's not that big a deal. And then all I have to do is click your link. You do realize. And then, okay, so then the next thing happens. So Phil, all you have to do is click a link. So as long as you have a mic and a webcam, you're set up, you're good. As you see, that's March 16th. Well, on that very same date, Richard sent this. It's a very threatening email and drama email. I found it amazing that DSP thinks everyone on Side Scrolls is the hater and the detractor. Phil, they were giving you a dose of reality and trying to help you. Studying Craig is the last dude on the planet just looking to conjure up drama. All right? Philip took that as a drama tweet and then responded to that very unfavorably. He was very perturbed. The king was perturbed, and he said, you do realize that if we want to have a civil convo that isn't drama, immediately making a drama tweet probably isn't the best way to go about it. A year passes, by the way. We interview Keemstar. All that stuff has now happened at this point. All right? So keep that in your mind. We're all there, right? It's all happened. And he starts with this after that long. Everyone wants me to have you on my show now. By the way, this is 2 days after Keemstar was on the Level 1 podcast. So it's been that long between those two tweets. Side Scrollers interview, and then Keemstar interview, and then Philip says this. Everyone wants me to have you on my show now. Now, it is my speculation that Keemstar said, yeah, you should probably have Rich on. And Philip said, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that. And this is how he did it. Everyone wants me to have you on my stream. And this is one of the most crazy lines I've ever read on WPIG. Convince me why I should even give you the time of day. Because, man, I'm gonna have to swallow a lot of pride to be nice with you. Convince me why I should have you on my show. Right. Okay. Very cool thing to do. A lot of people do that, actually. That's what I say to Detractor Beam every Thursday. Few people know that. Android, convince me why I should even give you the time of day. Okay? And then, a day later, yeah, look at the date, look at the time, by the way. Very, very interesting times there. He's very busy, though, okay? Very busy. And he wants more time to spend with his family. Next up, 1 day later, no response, Rich. Really? I'm throwing you a bone. Despite your constant insults to myself, my wife, and anyone associated with me, I'm throwing you a bone. Now, we get this. Hello! A week later, we send these two newspaper columns. This is like my weekly column in the DMs. I got it. Hold on. Oh, fuck. It doesn't work now? Where is it? Here we go. So 3 a.m. That's the only time he writes anything. You don't even have to say the time anymore because it's always 3 a.m. It's 3 a.m. somewhere, and that somewhere is in Renton, Washington when he sends messages. Okay, well, you had your chance, and I'm really sorry for where your life has ended up. That's karma. If you appeared on my show, I'd be civil with you and hash out everything. SNF, everything. And as long as no insults were thrown, I think it would go like Keemstar interview. No lie here. Unlike Craig, I actually do not want an apology from you. Well, you didn't get that apology either, but... I roasted you when I reacted to your documentary with Kino Casino. I roasted you. Trust me, I roasted you. I'd just like to finally have a discussion with you in the public so we can squash any beef and move on. I really mean that. Okay, well, that was September 7th. We move forward to September 19th. I've heard you did another insult-laden show toward me, but you've ignored my messages here and my attempts to be civil. Man, you are low down at this point in your life. I wish you the best. I really do. But you can't just stop your own self-destruction, which I'd like to help you in a real conversation. No attacks at all. But I'm talking to a wall. Aren't I, Rich?
Things autistic people do, part 3. We speak in paragraphs rather than sentences. If somebody asks me a question, you're never just going to get like a one sentence, yeah, that's how I feel about it. You're going to learn about background information that I feel is important to understand before I even share my idea with you. I'm going to make sure you understand the parameters that I'm using to form my thought or opinion. Because context!
Well, Rich does something that unfortunately I have to admit was a little bit funny. I do have to admit this. Journalistic integrity. I do have to admit this was kind of funny. Rich responded with this. That was his only response. Just an image of LTG at the window. So, how does Philip take that? Maybe is it Philip going to say, well, I guess I am really talking to a wall. Maybe I shouldn't respond. No. We get more of... Let me get my button ready. Oh, God damn it. That man will never leave his So, totally different topic. Totally different topic. Oh, now you want to talk about LTG. Cool. Review tech, I'm down. That man will never leave his insulated comfort zone of sycophants to do anything with anyone that actually people want to see. With anyone that people actually want to see. And that people actually wants to see. I always read it as written, by the way. And if he did show up at my house, I'd just make fun of him. I'd make fun of him more. He's a clown. He took an image of LTG outside of a window, seriously, and described what he would do if LTG showed up at his house. Very normal behavior. Okay, well, you see that thing has passed. Next, we're on to the next one. Remember, Rich hasn't said anything since then. So that's it? You think throwing LTG at me is the best you could do? You think throwing That's not... This is so unhinged. All right, you think throwing LTG at me is the best you can do? Used to be better than that. I'm actually surprised you responded at all. And if you haven't... Yeah, he responded with a meme, kind of saying like, I'm done, dude. It's a meme. Give up. And if you haven't noticed, I'm not going to talk about these DMs publicly like you do. I actually want to have you on my show to hash shit out and find out what your problem with me really is so we can put this all to bed and move on. Well, Rich, again, unfortunately did a kind of funny reaction to this. He, trying to help Phil understand that he doesn't want to respond, he sends this back. Which is a picture of a bird and Bill Gates, created by AI. Now, at one point, you might take many options at this point. You might choose to say, fuck it, Rich, I'm done with you. You might just don't say anything and understand that it's finally over. You're probably not going to get the interview with Rich that you want. Well, Philip decides to take a route that I didn't see coming. And it was this. I know it's bad quality, but I'll read it to you. I have no idea what this is. I actually love birds. I think they're awesome and cute and wish I had one. Oh, man. This is when I kind of felt bad. Like, I think really, we're just looking for a friend at this point, right? Like, Philip has literally, and I'm not making this up, hundreds and hundreds of words since the last time Rich has said anything to him. Anything to him. Philip has written hundreds and hundreds of words. Rich finally responds to with an LTG image. Philip writes more words. And then he sends an AI image that's even dumber and less on topic. And Philip responds with this. I don't know, man. I do not know. All right, well, you thought the fun was over. It's not over yet, boys. We got more shit to go. And then we get to this. So at that point, it goes to... he said... Hold on, let me get it up here. I'll read everything afterwards. We got to get through this before he starts, though, because it's very topical. And then Philip drops this ultimatum on him, okay? And this ultimatum is out of nowhere. He says... Oh, yeah. And okay, no, excuse me, I'm out of order here. You saw the response that Philip said about the birds? Well, after that, let me get my button ready. Oh, God. Holy Holy shit, man. We're up to about 1,000 or more words since Rich has said a single thing. Rich, I'm going to give you one last chance. You tried so hard to get me on your show for ages. Would you like to see the ages in question? It is, would you be interested in coming on my stream with Jay and I sometime and explaining how to use StreamYard? That's the ages that Rich was trying to get Philip on his show in DMs. I know he mentioned it in his stream more than that, but let's just be real here. It wasn't ages. It appears that Philip instead likes to write for ages to someone that has clearly not responding in any fashion. But anyways, if you won't take it simply because you're no longer in a position of power, it just goes to show you that you were never interested at all and what kind of person you are. It's really, really tough to say you're in a position of power when you have written 1,000 words to another human being that hasn't responded with more than images in literally a year at this point, I believe. Literally, time frame, year. But yes, let us know how much a position of power you are in, Sir King. If you don't respond to this message seriously, I'm just going to assume you're okay living the rest of your life out as a joke. If you haven't noticed, June the King's documentary and myself didn't end me. It had the opposite effect. Well, that's a little different, but all right. I make money playing mobile games now and nobody cares. So come on my show and settle it all and come out looking good, just like Keemstar did. So there was no response from Richard here, and he says, respond in this DM if you want to be on my show. I don't know why I have to spell it out like you are a 5-year-old. You have 48 hours. If you don't hear from you, the door is closed forever. So not taking his own ultimatum seriously, he then drops another ultimatum to Rich and says, I'm going to close the door forever. This time I'm serious. So Rich responds with this, which is 10 words, maybe, give or take 10 words. Hi, Phil. Sure, I'd love to come on. Let's schedule a day and time. Okay. Here we go. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Honestly, dude, get help. I cannot say this more realistically or mean it more sincerely. Get help. Oh my god. All right, so that's after that. Let me see if there's anything worth showing here. Philip demands that that Rich is sober. That was the last long one, though. Then he does after they kind of agree on a time. Philip says this, and that's the last paragraph, and that was kind of the last thing.
Rejection sensitivity, rejection sensitive dysphoria. These are common experiences in the autistic and ADHD communities. But why is that? What's really happening, and how can you manage your reaction to rejection, both real and perceived? Intense feelings of rejection is a really common experience in our community. So recently, you may have heard the term rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD. It's become a very popular term in the ADHD community, with some sources suggesting that up to 100% of people with ADHD have rejection sensitive dysphoria. And if that's true, probably half the autistic community do as well, given the extremely high prevalence of co-occurrence with ADHD. With that in mind though, it may surprise you to learn, because it definitely surprised me when I heard this, rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, is not an official diagnosis term at all, but rather a very commonly used, evidently quite useful, framework for understanding and managing common experiences. What we know for sure is that for many of us, rejection is a very serious issue. There's rejection issues and rejection challenges, rejection sensitivity, and rejection dysphoria. Rejection issues and challenges stem from actually being rejected, experiencing ostracism, for example. Rejection sensitivity is difficulty dealing with rejection, including perceived rejection and anticipated rejection. And rejection dysphoria is an intense feeling of rejection, even when all evidence is to the contrary.
I don't know many autistic people who aren't traumatized, and that means that I'm hypervigilant, which means that I become dysregulated easily, which means that I can sound defensive or irritated or angry when I'm trying to just be okay, or I'll go completely the other way and be like people pleasing and just be like trying to be super pleasant all the time, which is absolutely exhausting. It means that I end up avoiding social communication situations so I don't have to go through that.